I'm really thrilled to have Nikki Martin, the president and CEO of EnerGeo Alliance. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What are some of the most exciting trends that you see in Africa's frontier exploration market? And what opportunities do these trends offer to international companies hoping to take advantage of it on the continent?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We're really seeing a lot of exciting trends, both from the geoscience industry, which EnerGeo represents, and in the exploration industry, which is allowing companies unlock greater opportunities for countries access to energy than they've ever had before. Whether it's the ability to drill at deeper levels than they've ever had before, or the ability to access even more enhanced imaging through technologies such as full wave inversion, ocean bottom nodes, etc. And so really seeing technology being applied to new frontier areas and the innovation that our members and industry invest, really just expanding the opportunities to unlock a greater image, a greater ability to see what exists in the subsurface, whether that's onshore or offshore Africa, and then the ability from there to ensure that there's a way of accessing.
And what challenges have you observed in the natural gas environment, especially on the African continent?
Yeah. So, as the organization that primarily looks at the challenges that are happening for our industry above ground as they focus on subsurface risks, we see some concerning areas in above ground risk all around the world. But those trends also happen here in the continent of Africa. And some of them are really stemming from environmental activism that are specifically focused on preventing the ability for countries to access gas as an enabler to greater energy development from what they see as another fossil fuel, where instead natural gas is really one of the most low emissions, greenest energy sources you can have. And even the IEA says this is the number two, if not number one, source to prevent unclean cooking, which is really a prolific problem, especially right here in the continent. So natural gas is really something that should be pursued and used for the benefit of all of Africa.
And what would you like to see happen regarding, the intersection between data and energy in Africa's extractive industries?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We are always promoting and working with governments to help them understand the key role of geoscience as an enabler for energy access. You don't know what you can't see.
Yeah.
And so almost every source of energy, even alternative energies, require eyes on something going in, out, or through the ground. And that vision is only made possible through geoscience. So the more that they are able to enact policies, put in supportive regulations that can attract and maintain the investment of the exploration industry, starting with geoscience, the more they are able to understand what resources exist. And Africa is full of resources. You're one of the most resource-rich continents in the world. And all we want to do is help you unlock that and be able to provide a pathway to accessing that energy for your own benefit.
Yeah. And what is your long-term commitment to the continent?
Yes, great question. So EnerGeo's members have really invested in Africa over the last few decades, and they've ramped up that investment recently. It is one of the most exciting areas for both frontier exploration and even some of the areas that have existed for a long time where members have been investing in Nigeria, Angola, and elsewhere. And so they are very committed to ensuring that they are able to partner with African countries. And they're able to work with those countries to ensure that there are supportive, science-based, practical policies and regulations in place that support exploration, support geoscience, and support a quick pace to production. So Africa can compete on a global scale. So we are a global industry. We compete in a global market, and we want the ability for Africa to be very competitive, and you have been. And so we want to continue to see that.
And what is the potential of sub-Saharan Africa to become an oil and gas production hub for the globe?
Yep. So I think there's potential across the continent. It's really a means of infrastructure. And I know there's a lot of groups looking into how do we unlock investment and tremendous amounts of financing to put infrastructure in place across the continent, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. But for us, it's always looking at the infrastructure that's maybe not talked about as much, which is regulations and policies. That's a very important infrastructure to have in place as well. So the more that those countries can understand what needs to be in place, the better off they will be and it's set up for success.
And we're here at African Energy Week. You know, how do you plan to leverage this event to bolster the continent's objectives? And what messages will you bring to this conference?
Africa Energy Week is a great opportunity to meet with governments, meet with ministers, meet with regulators from across the continent. That's why EnerGeo prioritizes this event and comes every year, because it's a great opportunity to meet with everybody in one place, hear the same messages, hear the leading discussions from economists, the outlooks from the industry itself, from the governments, and then play a part in that as EnerGeo and helping to educate key stakeholders on what is required to really ensure that we're addressing above ground risks, that we're not missing key vulnerabilities or ambiguities that may end up unnecessary delaying or stemming investment in the exploration industry. And so that's the reason we come. And the message, of course, is similar to what we've been discussing today. The future of Africa is bright. The opportunities are limitless if working together, which I'm very excited to see and encourage to see a lot of the countries coming together and working across boundaries to put policies, put regulations in place that can really attract the investment of the industry and be a long-term partnership to see you thrive.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you.